This is the O Review podcast. O Review.
Hello. I bought another frog skin. I had promised myself not to buy any more frog skins, and I felt like I had enough. I have the White City, the gold, the glow in the dark, a couple of vintage ones, and I'm pretty much happy with that. I also have a few other ones that are the same as the old ones. I have an old versus new. But since there's so many frogs coming out and have come out over the years, I just decided to kind of part ways with those and concentrate on other things. However, once in a while something comes along and you just look at it and it seems so cool that you know you have to have it, especially when the retail isn't really that much. Granted, it's a lot higher than the retail for a normal, non-collector's edition, but sometimes you see frogs coming out and they're, 300 plus, 400, somewhere up there. So it's, even if you manage to pick it up on day one and you're not going to the secondary market, it's still just, ridiculously expensive. So what we have here are the second wave, and I say wave even though there's only one item, but of the staple frog skin. The first wave came out around 2010 or so, and there was I did a video on that before, which was one of my scripted ones. And the only two pieces I have are the eye shade, which I got at launch, and the golf ball radar. The radar actually was still on the staple site until he started drumming up interest for this one, and then suddenly it sold out. So you could actually still get that for around retail, which is about $210, somewhere in there. So taking a look at the frog skin. He collaborated with Liberty of London, which they do a lot of fabric prints, and he was able to take a look at their back catalog of different prints they had and choose one to do a series of items in. So before this was released a few weeks ago, he had a button-down shirt, a t-shirt, a hat. Basically, he was able to use this pattern, which is called Ptolemy Blue, and I don't know why it's called that because it doesn't really look Egyptian, but there it is. So this is going to be on the micro bag. It's also going to be in all the apparel that he did. And it's also on the outside of this crystal blue frog skin with yellow accents on the inside. On the inside, in addition to the yellow, there's also a staple, his logo there. There's also a pigeon on the top corner of the lens, just like he had on the original Dove Gray frog skins in 2010. Most of the other ones just had like the word staple, or it had, just like one of his various logos. Sometimes it was in a circle, sometimes it was spelled out, sometimes it's like that stencil pattern. But there's a few different ways he did it. For some reason, this one had a big like tennis cross in it, so you can't wear it. I don't know. It's a collector item, so it doesn't really matter. But I really like the look of this because, the crystal blue definitely looks really nice, especially when it's backlit. But also the pattern really kind of gives it a lot of extra detail. So it's just on the outside, and it does have a sort of a slight texture to it because it is printed. But it's on the edges, on the front, and basically that's pretty much it there. It does come with the newer style Frogskin box, and I had been wanting to get one of these just because I like collecting the boxes over the years, and I didn't have any representation of this. My first bet was probably to try to get one of the Heritage collections, because those actually had frog skin, razor blade, and eye shade, depending on how you turned it, and it was slightly bigger. But I can't complain since I had gotten this anyway. This box came with it, so now I don't have to really chase that down unless I actually want to get one of those pairs. So it was kind of interesting. On Instagram, he started promoting this a while back, and of course everyone was very excited. It's not often that you get sort of pre-promotion for one of these releases. Usually it just sort of pops up, or it's available in limited quantities in some store. But he promoted this for a while. He released the apparel. Those did sell out eventually, but they did take a week or two. And there was no sign of the glasses for a while, so we were just checking. And then finally, he did post a comment saying that they would be released at 1 p.m. on a Monday a few weeks ago when I got them. And so, of course, everyone's checking the site. At about 10 of 1, the site started getting really slow, and it was harder to load the site. When 1 o'clock came, you couldn't even get in the site. It was just completely locked up. And, of course, I kept refreshing. It would time out, talking to everyone. I had the chat loaded on the forum, and people were kind of basically reporting the same thing. And eventually, once in a while you could pop in and get the page to load, or you could get the checkout, but then at some point it would ultimately fail. I was able to get it into my cart about 2 times, but when I went to check out, that's when it would just ultimately fail. And there was a limit of 2, which is good because it kind of keeps the scalpers from buying like 10 of them and then reselling them, even though that still happened. But 2 allowed people to pick up 2 and have one for a friend. So I actually picked up a second one and had it sent to someone in Australia. The funny thing, though, is that on eBay, even before they had shipped, because I know they did take a couple days to ship, someone had them on eBay for $320, and retail was $150. So they hadn't even gotten them in hand, and they were already putting them on eBay for double the cost. And basically, I imagine if the person won the icon, they'd have to wait for the seller to receive it in hand and then ship it out. So it's kind of sad when you see that, but you kind of know what's going to happen. But I did see a lot of people buying 2 for a friend and, passing the savings along and helping out fellow collectors. So I think I saw more instances of people helping out other people than scalpers going out and trying to make a buck off something. So I think it worked out to a good degree. All right, so then the second part is I got an email saying that they shipped. So I'm like, all right, cool. They only took 2 days because he's in New York and I'm in New England, so it's not too much of a distance. But I look at the address, and it's the wrong address. It's my street name, my street number, but a different suffix to the end of the street. And it was Lane versus Ave. And for some reason in my town, there's 2 streets that are named exactly the same, but one's an avenue and one's a lane. So, of course, I panicked a bit, called UPS. They said, no, nothing we can do. You have to contact the seller because they were the one that put the address in. And I was thinking that was kind of weird because why would the addresser put some completely different name of a road, especially when it also had like a lane in there, so it was actually Lane Pond Road or something like that. So I called Reed Space, and they were willing to help. They were willing to give me a full refund or at least check into it. But I kept calling UPS, trying to progress it. I finally got them to at least have a UPS guy go out there and check the house. Of course, nothing came of that. So basically, the UPS was ultimately useless in the end. I did try to drive out to the house, and of course I'm driving deeper into the woods, and it's nighttime, and I get to a dirt road, and at the end of the dirt road there's a fence and a gate with a no trespassing sign. So I give up, call a few more times the next day, try to get UPS to do something, try to get someone else to do something. Nothing happens. So I mailed them a letter. Never heard anything. So eventually I try to drive there again, in the daytime this time, and I get to the gate, and I just decided to drive past the no trespassing sign because, worst thing they can do is tell me to leave. And if they do tell me to leave, at least I can see them and talk to them. I finally get to their driveway, and then it's even more of another trespassing sign, and now I'm actually at their driveway instead of just this private way. And I'm driving over branches and stuff, and I finally get to this house that looks like Leatherface's summer cottage. And it's all run down, there's no lights, there's no cars, doesn't even look like there's any life there, but I'm guessing there's someone home. Since no one was home, I left, came back at night after I had written another letter, and I was going to put it on their door, but I didn't have it prepared. So what happens is now it's a nighttime, so I'm on a dirt road at night, no street lights, and we had sort of a mild tropical storm that had put branches everywhere. So at the front of their driveway, a big tree had fallen, or not a big tree, but a large-sized branch had kind of fallen over the way, so I couldn't drive over it. So I got out and moved that. And then I'm going down their single-lane driveway where if someone came in the other direction, there's nowhere for me to go except to back up probably a quarter of a mile. Another tree had fallen, so I had to kind of like almost drive off the driveway into like the woods a bit. And finally get to their house. Again, no one's home, but I did manage to put a letter on their door. Drove back, and next day, got a call. He said, oh yeah, I'll personally deliver it to you. And then it showed up at my door. So I was going to write it off. I figured, when something gets delivered to the wrong place, it's ultimately, you almost have to figure it's going to be gone. But in this case, it did have a happy ending, and happier because I had promised another one to someone, and that would have been a little awkward too, especially when I had that money tied up there. So in the end, I finally got the STPL Frogskins, which make a nice addition to the collection, and along with the other 2. And hopefully this will be the last Frogskin I have to buy because, again, they are not my style, but I just think it's a release that you had to get if you had the chance. So everyone who was able to jump in and get one, congratulations. If you weren't able to, hopefully a friend helped you out, and hopefully you don't have to go to the secondary market and feed the scalpers. So that's my story. Hope I'm sticking to it. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, have a nice day.